The guy upstairs was a math prodigy. He won award after award, all through his childhood, but then, he ended up stomping on his math tests, playing video games and making out with my stepsister. It all came to a head when he sank so low he was about to ditch a major math competition. I couldn't help but tell his parents. Under the strict supervision of his family, he won first prize in the competition. After graduation, he achieved fame and success, becoming the CEO of a publicly listed company. And when I was forced to jump from the rooftop, the look in his eyes held nothing but cold indifference. This is your karma for tearing us apart. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the math competition tutoring class. Thankfully, it wasn't too late to change things. By the time class ended, it was already 8 in the evening. I walked straight up to my tutor. Mr. Zhang, I won't be coming anymore. Your competition skills have been steadily improving. Why give up so suddenly? My tutor looked at me, his face full of surprise. I've lost interest, I explained with my head bowed, enduring the discomfort in my body. The phantom pain from jumping to my death in my past life hadn't yet faded away. I never really had much interest in math. I only took it because of Joey Ba. But now, there's no point. Alright, the tutor said, making a token effort to persuade me to stay before his expression turned to one of genuine regret. You often sit with Joey Ba. Do you know what's been going on with him lately? He hasn't been to class for 2 weeks. He's such a promising student. It would be a shame to see him fall behind. Before I could say a word, a classmate passing by shouted, he's too busy with his love life to make it to class. 1. As the teacher looked on in shock, I quietly slipped out of the classroom. Walking past a bar, I saw Joey Ba and Han Peipei sharing a bottle of beer, dressed in matching black and white outfits. They looked nothing like students. They had all the hallmarks of delinquents. They were drinking and howling at the top of their lungs. Before long, Han Peipei noticed me and started frantically waving me over. Hey, come join us, I'll buy you a drink. I didn't move, my gaze fixed coldly on Joey Ba. Joey Ba's gaze swept dismissively across my face, his expression one of contempt. Han Peipei nudged him and said loudly, on purpose, I almost forgot you two are childhood sweethearts. Go on. Go say hello to her. With that, Han Peipei covered her mouth and let out a light, tittering laugh. Call her over. Don't ruin the mood. Without even a glance in my direction, Joey Ba wrapped his arm around Han Peipei and walked into the bar. A few days later, during free activity time in PE class, the homeroom teacher called Joey Ba and Han Peipei over to the edge of the sports field. It was because a middle-aged man pointed at Han Peipei and remarked how young girls these days were so little, asking wasn't she cold in the middle of autumn. Han Peipei then started sobbing, claiming the man had harassed her, and egged Joey Ba on to pick a fight with him. Joey Ba actually had the nerve to hit someone, breaking their arm, on top of his family paying a hefty sum for medical bills. The victim's family was so furious they went to the school demanding Joey Ba be punished. The school had to go to great lengths to hush the whole thing up. Joey Ba was holding hands with Han Peipei by the edge of the sports field. The homeroom teacher took one look, shook her head, and snapped, let go. Joey Ba sighed, and Han Peipei rolled her eyes before they finally released their grip. Furious, the homeroom teacher stamped her foot and pointed at Joey Ba, scolding him, what am I supposed to say to you? Your overall grades are poor. And math is the only subject you show any talent for. So tell me, why on earth did you drop out of that perfectly good tutoring class? If you win first prize in the math competition, you could even get a direct admission to Tsinghua or Peking University. You're only a senior in high school. What's the rush to get into a relationship? What good could possibly come from dating her? The homeroom teacher glanced at Han Peipei and swallowed the words on the tip of her tongue. She let out a sigh before continuing, you and Amran are not just desk mates but also good friends. Wouldn't it be great to attend the math competition prep class together? At the very least, she could inspire you to better yourself, not just let you wallow in mediocrity. Hearing my name, I closed the small vocabulary booklet in my hand and stood up, steadying myself against the large tree behind me. Joey Ba finally looked up and said to the homeroom teacher with a sneer, Amran is just a bookworm, she really can't compare to Peipei. Exactly, Iba is right, Han Peipei said with a light laugh, her gaze towards the homeroom teacher turning slightly provocative. What kind of youth is it if you can't even be the master of your own? You, all of you. The homeroom teacher was genuinely infuriated by their absurd remarks. Joey Ba scratched his head in irritation and cut in, Mr. Yang, please stop bringing Amran into this from now on, we're not close. I stepped out from behind the tree and met Joey Ba's gaze. He paused for a moment, then turned his head away with a hint of fluster. I watched him quietly, not saying a word. He was right. I really didn't know him well. It was just that from elementary school all the way through senior year, we often did homework together, often ate meals together, often went to the bookstore to buy books together. That was all there was to it. My family and Joey Ba's family were neighbors, living in apartments directly above and below each other. I met him in 2nd grade, so you could say we were childhood friends. One day that year, I had forgotten my keys. I was sitting by my front door, sniffling and wiping away tears, when he walked over to me. "You're in Ran from class 1, grade 2, right? I'm Joey Ba from class 3, grade 2. That was the first time I met him. After that, I started going to his place for meals all the time. His dad was an amazing cook, and he'd joke that I couldn't eat unless I called him Grandpa, too. I knew his dad was just teasing, so I immediately called him Grandpa. It had everyone in stitches. Whenever it's brought up now, my face still burns with embarrassment, but deep down, I was secretly pleased. It's impossible not to like someone as warm and sunny as Joey Ba. My father was a middle school teacher, leaving early and coming home late every day. My mother passed away when I was very young, so I had to walk to and from school by myself from an early age. On the way, I'd often run into older bullies who'd call me a stray child with no one to raise me. Some would even get physical. Whenever Joey Ba's grandfather saw this, he'd chase the bullies away, and Joey Ba would run over and tightly hold my hand. After that, I got used to walking to and from school with Joey Ba. Apart from that, I was never good at math. While Joey Ba possessed a remarkable talent for it, he tutored me in math almost every day, and over time, my grades rose to the top of the class, but there was still an insurmountable gap between me and Joey Ba. One day, he tilted his head and looked at me earnestly, saying, "We could enter the math competition together in our senior year, if we win first prize. There's a chance to get a direct admission to Tsinghua University," I said sheepishly. "How could I possibly win first prize? I don't have a natural talent for math." "You, don't sell yourself short, and don't underestimate me either. A great teacher produces a brilliant student. I'll make sure you get that first prize. I couldn't bear to leave you behind." His eyes darted, then settled on me. "You wouldn't really leave me, would you?" In an instant, my face flushed with embarrassment, and from that moment on, I threw myself into studying for the math competition. I knew my chances of winning first prize were slim, but I still wanted to give it my all because of that one line, "I just couldn't bear to leave you behind." But in the end, that hope was shattered, because he met Han Peipei. Han Peipei came to my house during our final year of high school. That day, 4 or 5 classmates were overdoing homework, and the moment she walked in, she caught everyone's eye. She wore a beige trench coat over a light-colored fitted top, paired with nude leggings and a low-rise, hot pair of shorts. With her beige eyeshadow, glossy pink lips, and sparkling earrings, she stood out brilliantly among us. She was chewing gum. A confident, almost defiant smile played on her lips. She extended her hand, shaking each of ours in turn, and introduced herself with effortless poise. I glanced over and saw Joey Ba, who had never shown interest in anything but math problems, staring intently at her. She was a splash of color in our otherwise gray youth. The next day, she transferred into our class, and the whole room went wild. But Han Peipei seemed to only have eyes for Joey Ba. A few days later, while Zhou was tutoring me at his home for a math competition, she made her first move. She shook his arm, her eyes sparkling with a smile. "Hey, Zhou, I heard you're the smartest in our class. You must be great at video games too. Would you like to play with me? It's no fun playing alone." As she said this, Han Peipei pouted her rosy lips. Usually, after school, Joey Ba would tutor me for math competitions. I was certain he would turn her down, but I was wrong. He just blushed, scratched his head, and said to me, "Anran, I won't be tutoring you today. Why don't you work on some English or Chinese test papers first?" After saying that, Joey Ba actually ran home, fetched his laptop, and teamed up with Han Peipei to play games. I stared blankly at the English exam paper on the desk, not taking in a single word. I saw Han Peipei deliberately knock the banana off the table, then bend down to pick it up right under Joey Ba's nose. Joey Ba looked as if he'd seen something he shouldn't have. He swallowed hard, his face flushing red inch by inch. Before Dad and my stepmother got home, the whole house was filled with their laughter and the excited roars from their gaming session. To my surprise, that was only the beginning. In the following days, they were glued to each other playing video games. Joey Ba also stopped tutoring me for the math competition. What surprised me even more was that, a week later, Joey Ba confessed his feelings to Han Peipei. Han Peipei gave me a beaming glance and readily agreed. From that moment on, Joey Ba completely let himself go. Han Peipei was all he could think about and see. The two were as close as conjoined twins. He kept her company while she smoked on the rooftop of the teaching building. He helped her stagger out of the bar. He got into a fight for her sake. 3. Worried about being caught by their families. They just went to an internet cafe to play games. He said that Han Pepe was a ray of light in his gray life. He said he would no longer tutor me, worried that Han Pepe might get the wrong idea. From that moment on, our paths diverged at life's crossroads. Joey Ba got a scolding, but stubbornly insisted he had done nothing wrong, saying they were both over 18 and had the right to date. After Joey Ba and Han Pepe left, our homeroom teacher said that since Joey Ba and I had always gotten along well and were neighbors, I should try to talk some sense into him, or else she'd have to tell his parents. This time, I refused. Joey Ba was right. They were already 18, as long as they weren't breaking any laws. Who had the right to tell them what to do? The homeroom teacher sighed and gave up. It started to rain just as school let out. As I walked out of the school gate alone under my own umbrella, I spotted Joey Ba and Han Pepe under a large black umbrella by the roadside. Joey Ba had his arm around her shoulders, and the two of them were huddled close together beneath the black canopy. We used to shelter from the rain like that too. Joey Ba would always say his umbrella was big enough and that he wanted to share it with me. Except now. The other person under that black umbrella was Han Pepe. It's not like I'm indispensable. As she passed by them, Han Pepe suddenly spoke up and ran. Are you out of your mind? Just because Joey Ba stopped tutoring you for the math competition, you got all upset and started snitching to the teacher. How pathetic is that? The tutor and the homeroom teacher are high school classmates. Do you really think I need to be the one to tattle? I froze, then turned to look at them, my face darkening by the second. Before I could even get a word out, Joey Ba shot me an irritated glance. You're being really annoying, you know that. Please stay away from me and stop interfering with my life. Just as I was about to unleash a torrent of curses, Joey Ba wrapped his arm around Han Pepe and they dashed into the curtain of rain. Watching the handsome guy and the beautiful girl huddled together under a single umbrella as they ran, it was the very picture of romance. But what did I ever do to them? You're insane. Both of you are insane, I shouted at their fading figures, but the only reply I got was the sound of the rain, growing heavier and heavier. After that day, they plunged into a wild, all-consuming romance, one that was brazenly public and utterly intoxicating. Like many young couples head over heels in love, they would skip class for a concert, travel to another city just to see a favorite star, and cling to each other, screaming on roller coasters. They would sway their hips on the dance floor of a late-night bar. Alcohol set their youth ablaze. They simply forgot that they were still students, seniors in high school who needed to hit the books. But in this life, I will just stand by and watch. Then, they would study day and night, preparing for the college entrance exams. In my past life, in a foolish attempt to follow in Joey Ba's footsteps, I recklessly chose the path of math competitions, a road of no return. I won't be a competition student anymore. I'm going to be a regular college entrance exam candidate. I'm going to take the college entrance exam next year and never touch those damned math competition problems again. I know changing course now will be incredibly difficult, but I have to do it. To my surprise, I overheard Han Pepe's conversation with her deskmate again that day. Why would I like Joey Ba? He's just good at math. I just can't stand him always hovering around and ran. Ha ha ha, who would have thought? I just crooked my finger at him, and he came right over. Her deskmate. Don't act so full of yourself. Maybe he's just curious and playing along for fun. There's no way he'd drop out of the math competition just like that. Is there, Han Pepe? Don't you believe me? Just wait and see if he participates in this year's senior math competition. I walked in from outside. I knew the first prize winner of this math competition had an excellent chance of being admitted directly to Tsinghua University. I understood just how important this math competition was to him. In my previous life, it was after overhearing their conversation that I told Joey Ba's parents, under the strict supervision of his family. He won first prize in the competition and was successfully admitted to Tsinghua University. After graduation, he achieved fame and success, becoming the president of a listed company. Yet when I became an employee at his company, he tricked me into signing a contract that left me saddled with massive debt. As I was forced to leap from the rooftop, the look in his eyes held nothing but cold indifference. This is your karma for tearing us apart. The thought of Joey Ba made me tremble all over. Suddenly, Han Pepe turned to look at me. Anran, you wouldn't tell his parents, would you? If you tell them, he'll think you're deliberately trying to sabotage our relationship. I kept my eyes on the book in my hands, refusing to even glance at her. Do you really think I'd waste my time on that? In this life, I certainly won't be the one to snitch. I must respect their fate. In the end, Joey Ba didn't end up taking part in that math competition after all. 4. Because the night before, he had gone out in the rain with Han Pei and caught a cold and a fever. Ironically, this brought the two of them even closer. I saw the two of them walk into the internet cafe, hand in hand. Joey Ba's gaze at the person beside him was tender and affectionate. Han Pei deftly lit a cigarette and blew a smoke ring toward Joey Ba's face. Joey Ba took a cigarette and lit up as well. Then, they dove into a game, the rapid clicks of their controllers filling the air. I gave a faint smile, turned, and left to go home and do my homework. It wasn't until that evening that his parents came to my house. In my eyes, Joey Ba's parents, both being doctors, were dignified and understanding. I had shared too many meals at their home and felt too much warmth. Joey Ba comes from a well-off family. His parents had high hopes for him. After discovering his talent for mathematics, they enrolled him in numerous competition preparation classes. Joey Ba didn't let them down, winning awards left and right throughout his school years. If he secures first prize in this final year high school math competition, he stands an excellent chance of being directly admitted to Tsinghua University. This was his best shot at getting into a prestigious university, but Joey Ba ruined everything. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Zhou's faces were as dark as thunder, and right in front of my dad and stepmom, they looked ready to hit Han Pei after being held back. Han Pei snapped at her parents. What's wrong with you people? What gives you the right to hit me? Mrs. Zhou sneered coldly. What gives us the right? If it weren't for you, why would my son have dropped out of the math competition? Do you have any idea how many years our family has prepared for this? How much we've sacrificed? It's all because of you. My son's efforts have been completely wasted. At this, Han Pei sneered coldly. You can't blame me for this. It was your son who wouldn't leave me alone. You'd better get your facts straight before you go smearing my name. Mrs. Zhou was so furious her face turned pale, and her legs began to tremble uncontrollably. At that moment, Mr. Zhou could hold back no longer. He pointed a finger at Han Pei and snapped, "How could my son end up dating someone like you?" As he said this, Mr. Zhou shot a glance in my direction. If he were dating Ran, we'd give it our wholehearted approval. Being put on the spot like that, I froze up completely. Han Pei's gaze, sharp as a knife, instantly pierced through me. Anran, so it was you who snitched. How could you do this? And after I've called you sister for all this time? The corner of my mouth twitched, and I replied calmly, don't go biting people at random. I don't have time for your mess. Mr. Zhou suppressed his anger. Zhao Ziheo's mother said it. We're colleagues. I breathed a sigh of relief. Otherwise, nothing I could do would ever clear my name. The commotion was quite a scene, and soon many neighbors in the building knew about it. Unable to bear the gossip and judgment from others, and given that she was only cohabiting with my father without a formal marriage or marriage certificate, my stepmother left with Han Pei the very next day. Joey Ba believed he was the one who had dragged Han Pei and her mother into this, causing them to be humiliated by his parents. After they returned home, he tore all his math competition papers and related study guides to shreds. He even used his own body as a bargaining chip, refusing to eat or drink as a form of protest against his parents. It was a month later when I saw Joey Ba again. That night, Mr. Zhou knocked on our door, asking my dad to help take Joey Ba to the hospital. I heard he had drunk so much it caused a stomach hemorrhage. Joey Ba was slumped over his father's back, his blood staining the down jacket red. Yet, on his pallid face, there was a trace of a meaningful smile. A chill ran down my spine, leaving me cold all over, because I heard him say one thing, in this life, I will live for Han Pei. Anran, don't you dare try to stop me again. The voice was incredibly faint, yet I heard it with perfect clarity. He was reborn too. I was completely frozen in place. In the end, his parents relented, and they were finally together. Joey Ba never touched another math competition problem. He didn't care in the slightest, nor did he feel any regret. He said that compared to Han Pei, the math competition wasn't worth mentioning. From then on, Joey Ba and I lost touch. The mere thought of him makes me sick, even if we bumped into each other in the apartment hallway, with him half opening his mouth to say hello. I'd treat him like thin air, either lowering my head or staring straight ahead as I walked right past him. I poured all my time into studying, even when Han Pei sneered at school, calling me a puppet who only knew how to study, saying I couldn't even control my own youth and that such a life was pointless. I wouldn't take her words to heart. Instead, I threw myself completely into my studies. Apart from sleeping, it was all about reviewing and doing practice problems. I believe every single word I memorize now. Every test paper I complete has meaning. They will allow me to go where I want to go, meet the people I want to meet, and live the life I want to live. Meanwhile, Joey Ba and Han Pei were living it up, throwing themselves into their youth, falling in love, and declaring with abandon that this was what true, unadulterated youth was all about. In that final mock exam, I scored over 600 points, which was already good enough to apply to some of the 211 project universities. That was an improvement of over 100 points compared to my score when I first decided to take the standard college entrance exam. Not only did Joey Ba miss the math competition, but now he's even skipped the mock exams. Word started going around the class. Joey Ba got into a bar fight and ended up in the slammer. That weekend night, they were back at the bar, packed in the middle of the dance floor and going wild. When a wandering hand groped Han Pei amidst the screams and roars, Joey Ba and that delinquent with bleached blonde hair were locked in a vicious brawl. By the time the police arrived, the blonde-haired guy had been beaten so badly he couldn't even get up. I lowered my head and let out a cold, scornful laugh. It's been a long time since I last saw Joey Ba. His face is growing fainter in my memory, no longer overlapping with that warm little boy. After that incident, I thought Han Pei would show some restraint. 5. But I was wrong. Not only did she show no remorse, she brazenly posted a moment. The baby and I are waiting for our brave one to come home. The picture shows 2 hands gently resting on a slightly rounded belly. This social media post was like a bomb dropped into a calm lake, sending the entire class into a frenzy. At that age, with school life being so dull and monotonous, students have an intense curiosity about private matters. As soon as this post circulated, the whole class was buzzing with discussion, though most of it was mockery and condemnation directed at the two of them. When she first transferred to our class, I was actually drawn to her unique, independent vibe. TSK, I must have been blind. Turns out she's just shameless, a boy remarked with a sneer from a short distance away. Good thing you didn't pursue her back then, or you'd be wearing a whole meadow on your head by now. Ha ha ha, dodged a bullet there. Not long after, Joey Ba was released. I heard his family spent a considerable amount of money to reach a settlement for his case, but the Joey Ba of now is a completely different person from his former, self-assured self. The light in his eyes was gone. His teacher had also given up on him, moving his seat to a remote corner in the back of the classroom. Joey Ba and Han Pei lived their youth on their own terms, sleeping through classes and heading straight to the internet cafe after school, living a wild and unrestrained life. In stark contrast, my life was nothing but study, and more study. We drifted further and further apart, our paths never to cross again. During the college entrance exams, my thoughts flowed smoothly and my pen flew across the page. I feel that none of my previous efforts were in vain. After the final exam, I walked out of the hall with a light step, lifted my head slightly, saw the brilliant sun, and felt utterly fulfilled inside. I did my best, and I have no regrets about my youth. When I got home, I saw my dad having a drink with Joey Ba's father. When he saw me, Mr. Joe asked with concern, Ran, the exam went well, didn't it? It was alright. It's the most satisfied I've ever been with my performance, I replied with a smile. That's good. I'm sure Ran will get into the university of her choice. A relieved smile spread across Mr. Joe's face. But then he lowered his head, his expression growing complicated. He sighed, if only Iba were more like Ran. How could he drop the ball right at the critical moment? From Mr. Joe's endless grumbling, I learned even more. After getting out of the police station, Joey Ba moved out to live with Han Pei. When he left home, he even stole 20,000 yuan, which landed his mother in the hospital from sheer anger. And that wasn't the end of it. Just a few days before the college entrance exams, Han Pei suddenly started bleeding again while playing games at an internet cafe. This caused Joey Ba to miss the exams entirely. But Joey Ba was unfazed, saying he was an adult now. It was his own youth, and he could live it however he wanted. Ba was such a good kid back when he and Ran were studying for the math competition together. So sensible and driven. How did he end up like this? Mr. Joe downed a gulp of wine, his face etched with exhaustion and disappointment. I stayed silent. Honestly, I don't know either. I wonder if things would have turned out differently if Han Pei hadn't come to our house, if Joey Ba had never met her. But anyway, none of this has anything to do with me anymore. To my surprise, I ran into Joey Ba and Han Pei again at the graduation dinner a week later. Before high school, I was completely focused on my studies and never bothered with my appearance, but now it's different. I finished the college entrance exams and graduated. I swapped my ponytail for loose, shoulder-length hair, applied some light makeup, and wore a simple white dress. As usual, I was quiet, holding my drink and taking small, unhurried sips, yet, I still became the center of attention. My classmates probably never expected that a little grooming could make me look like a completely different person. It was as if they had discovered a dusty pearl. The looks they gave me were a complex mix: shock, envy, delight, and, of course, a hint of jealousy from a few of the female classmates. Joey Ba also kept glancing my way from time to time. In his deeply complicated gaze, I caught a flicker of regret. Anran, how did you get so beautiful? So you were the real beauty of our class all along. The class monitor suddenly steered the conversation toward me. My face flushed as I was searching for the right words to reply, when another classmate chimed in, "You're right. And Ran is really turning heads lately. Her mock exam scores have been getting better and better with each try." 6. Yeah, and Ran, you're definitely going to ace this one. You should be able to get into a top-tier university, right? I set my cup down and was just about to speak when a scornful laugh suddenly cut through the air. It was Han Peipei. Laughing with a roll of her eyes, she stood up, cigarette in hand, and started walking slowly towards me. "Anran, it's only been a few days, but you look completely different. Here, have a cigarette. If it weren't for you, I'd never have met Iba. I haven't even properly thanked you yet." She was smoking a cigarette held in one hand, while with the other, she pinched a fresh one and offered it to me. The acrid smell of smoke hit me, and I instinctively covered my mouth and took a step back. My face was cold. "I don't like smoking." "Oh, so you're putting effort into dressing up now. But you still won't smoke." Han Peipei sneered and continued, "You just want to get Joe Iba's attention, don't you? He likes girls who smoke, like me. Why don't you give it a try?" Joe Iba walked over with a dark expression and pulled her arm. "What nonsense are you talking? Let's just go." Han Peipei pulled her arm free and kept her eyes on me. "I'm telling you, don't waste your time. Iba isn't into someone like you. He said you're like a study-obsessed puppet. Boring. He'll never like you. He loves spending time with me. He loves going to bars with me, watching concerts together, playing online games." "Ha, but you wouldn't. What kind of a life is that for a young person?" The other classmates were starting to lose their patience, and the looks they gave Han Peipei grew increasingly disgusted. I looked at Han Peipei with a blank expression. "I'm not interested in your business, and I don't want to comment on it, but please, don't you dare tell me what to do. My youth, my rules. I love studying. I love solving problems. What's it to you?" Han Peipei's face instantly turned cold. Joey Ba gave me an inscrutable look, then pulled Han Peipei out of the room. I sat back down in the chair and picked up the Lulu drink, taking small sips. I drank quietly. They don't matter to me anymore. All I care about now is the upcoming release of my college entrance exam results. Sometime later, the exam results were finally released. I scored 642 points. That's over 20 points higher than my best mock exam score. I really outperformed myself, and it's a score that could get me into a pretty good 985 university. My dad was over the moon. He was grinning from ear to ear as he called my uncles and aunts to share the good news. For a while, our house was buzzing with activity. Many of my dad's colleagues and friends brought their kids over to learn my secret, asking how I managed to improve my grades by 150 points in just 6 months. They even ended up taking all my high school textbooks and subject notes with them. After I was accepted into a top-tier university, my dad threw a celebration dinner at home. He cooked up a feast to entertain our close relatives. At dinner, my aunt asked, Ran, did that boy who lives upstairs from you get into Tsinghua on a recommendation? Isn't he supposed to be a math prodigy?" My hand, holding the chopsticks, paused. I silently shook my head. My father said with deep regret, "Come to think of it, I'm to blame for this. If I hadn't remarried and given Ran a stepmother, that boy wouldn't have met Han Peipei, and they wouldn't have started dating so young. What a shame. Such a promising young man, because of a teenage romance. He missed the math competition and didn't even take the college entrance exam. It's a real tragedy. Yeah, he had such a bright future ahead of him. If he'd just applied himself and stuck to the plan of competing in the math Olympiad, he would have been a shoo-in for Tsinghua University. But when you get right down to it, he has no one to blame but himself. It was his own choice. He's the one who gave up on himself. After seeing the relatives off downstairs, I ran into Joey Ba in the hallway. I tried to slip past him quietly, but he called out to me, Ran, I heard you did well on your exams. Congratulations. I was taken aback for a moment, then replied with deliberate coolness, actually, I owe it to you for helping me find my direction in time. The corner of his mouth twitched as he let out an awkward, bitter laugh. Is your major in math or computer science? I lifted my face with a faint smile. Neither. It's Chinese language and literature. at the end of August. I left for Shanghai to start university. My classmates were all exceptionally talented, so I had to study even harder, read more, and write more to fill my life with purpose and my heart with contentment. During my university years, I received the first-class scholarship in Chinese language and literature multiple times and even achieved financial independence by writing web novels. By the time I graduated, I had already made a name for myself. Several of my novels had been adapted into hit TV shows and movies, and I was riding high on that wave of success. I was swamped every single day and had long since forgotten all about Joey Ba and Han Pei. 2 years after graduating from university, our class monitor organized a high school reunion. I happened to be free that day, so I decided to go. At the gathering, I was once again the center of attention. My old classmates lined up for photos and autographs. And they kept plying me with drinks one after another, and Ran is a well-known author now. I heard the novel she just finished earlier this year is going to be adapted into a TV series. Yeah, a friend of mine at a publishing house said several of Ayn Rand's novels have sold out and are being reprinted right now. Amidst the classmates' flattering remarks, someone suddenly brought up Joey Ba and Han Pei. Joey Ba was in that math competition prep class with you back then. We all thought you two were a shoo-in for Tsinghua's math program. Ugh, it's all Han Pei's fault. If Joey Ba hadn't gotten involved with her, he'd have been a lock for Tsinghua for sure. TSK, what a shame. At the time, it seemed so brave and romantic. Looking back now, it was just plain naive and foolish. Tell me about it. I heard they're both doing pretty poorly these days. So, what's the story with them? Did they ever get married? Someone asked curiously. Get married? Are you kidding? They split up years ago, right after high school. They both went to work in the South. It wasn't even a year before Han Pei decided he wasn't ambitious enough and couldn't make enough money, so she ran off with some married businessman. I heard something about that too. Word is the guy got bored with her and dumped her ages ago. Just recently, someone said they saw her working as a hostess in a bar in Shenzhen. What a complete mess. And what about Joey Ba? Oh, him. He came back from the South a while ago. He's doing delivery gigs now. Last time I ordered a courier on my phone to deliver a document. Who shows up but Joey Ba? As he spoke, the classmate glanced at his watch. He should be here soon. I just had him run an errand to bring over a nice bottle of wine. The classmates exchanged glances, the atmosphere turning a bit awkward. The classmate laughed. Don't get me wrong, if I didn't give him the errand, he wouldn't bother making time for the reunion. It's fine. He's long since lost that prideful air he had back in the day. With that, the atmosphere in the room livened up again. Before long, I saw Joey Ba push the door open and walk in. 7. I almost didn't recognize him. His face was puffy, his skin was rough, and he had dark circles under his eyes. All the life and spirit had gone out of him. The boy who once vowed to get into Tsinghua University with me has long since faded into the crowd. When he saw me, he was startled at first, then averted his gaze, looking both awkward and ashamed. I suddenly remembered our conversation that day. We could enter the math competition together in our senior year. If we won first prize, there was a chance to get a direct admission to Tsinghua University. How could I possibly win first prize? I don't have a natural talent for math. Hey. Don't sell yourself short, and don't underestimate me either. A great teacher produces a brilliant student. I'll make sure you get that first prize. I couldn't bear to leave you behind. Even back then, I knew it was unlikely I'd get that direct admission to Tsinghua, but I never expected that he wouldn't make it either. Everything that happened that year feels like a distant dream. Now, we've both woken up, after the dinner. I was waiting for a taxi by the roadside when Joey Ba came over and said in a low voice, Ran, I was wrong. I should have chosen to be with you back then. But you, why didn't you stop me? Ha, I let out a bitter laugh. Even your own parents can't control you, and you think I can. Besides, why would I even bother? Who do you think you are? Ran, I'm sorry, I was wrong. So, can we start over? I looked at him in astonishment, taken aback by his sheer audacity. I shook my head slightly, ignoring him. Just then, a taxi pulled up beside me, and I got in. Ran, please, give me another chance. Okay, he pleaded, his voice trembling. There's no need. I rolled up the window. Driver, let's go. The car moved forward slowly. A desperate, animal-like roar came from behind the car. And Ran, did you come back too? I didn't turn around, just tilted my head to look at the scattered lights outside the window. Came back. What nonsense, the driver sneered. End of the full text. Story 2. My childhood friend, who had always loved to stick by my side, suddenly couldn't hide his disgust for me. He unilaterally cancelled our engagement, took away the poor student I had sponsored, and doted on her by his side. Everyone around thought he was crazy, but only I knew that he had been reborn. The subtitles above his head kept scrolling. The first thing the male lead does after being reborn is, of course, to keep our delicate female lead by his side, of course. The male lead will become the richest man in the future, reborn 10 years earlier in this life. He can achieve even greater things. I just smiled. Without the support of my family's marriage alliance, even if my childhood friend was reborn as an embryo, he was destined to fail in this life. 1. The moment I took the initiative to reach out my hand to Lin Xingwei, his eyes changed. They went from shocked and delighted to tired and disgusted. Lin Xingwei pushed me away violently. His words as cold as ice. Miss Xian, please stop throwing yourself at me. I don't like you. The onlookers gasped, because everyone knew that it was Lin Xingwei who had always clung to me. We had been engaged since childhood and were true childhood sweethearts. Lin Xingwei had vowed to marry me. Even when I was about to study abroad, he didn't hesitate and was willing to wait for me to return. But now, why had everything changed? Lin Xingwei looked at me coldly and said with his thin lips, "By the way, give Wanner to me. I'll take good care of her." Feng Wanner was the poor student I sponsored. It was only because of my financial support that she had the opportunity to study at an elite school. I asked her, "Are you sure?" Lin Xingwei frowned, his eyes contemptuous. "Whether you agree or not, I will take Wanner away. She is kind and innocent and must not be tainted by the smell of money from your Xian family." I laughed. Was it possible that Lin Xingwei thought he was pure and noble, when in fact he was the one who had benefited the most from my family? 2. Lin Xingwei accurately found Feng Wanner in the crowd and grabbed her wrist. "Wanner, come with me. As long as I'm here, no one will dare to bully you." The subtitles above his head kept scrolling. I'm so into this. The first thing the male lead does after being reborn is, of course, to keep our delicate female lead by his side. Of course, the male lead will be the richest man in the future. Reborn 15 years earlier in this life, he can achieve even greater things. As the subtitles scrolled, I suddenly understood. It turned out that I was the vicious supporting female character, arrogant, overbearing, but rich. My parents had already paved the way for the rest of my life. All I had to do was go to school, get married, and inherit the family business step by step, and I could easily reach the peak of my life. Since my life was too smooth and I was bored, I picked a few children of debtors to study with me. I waived their tuition and living expenses as a kind act. Feng Wanner was one of them. Because she somewhat resembled me in appearance, I favored her especially and transferred her to the class where Lin Xingwei and I were. Later, I went abroad to study. Lin Xingwei, feeling lonely, actually found Feng Wanner to be his substitute, while I was studying abroad. The two of them had a dramatic love affair. Lin Xingwei, who didn't even want to buy a plane ticket, missed me while passionately having a relationship with Feng Wanner. When I returned home, Lin Xingwei abruptly abandoned Feng Wanner, but at our wedding, he suddenly realized that Feng Wanner was the woman he loved most in his life. Lin Xingwei endured hardships and finally became the richest man 5 years after our marriage, planning to rekindle his relationship with Feng Wanner. However, he didn't expect that she had died of liver cancer 2 years earlier. Their love-hate story became an eternal legend. Fortunately, Lin Xingwei was reborn. This time, he followed his heart, resolutely dumped me, and planned to be with Feng Wanner. What passionate and sincere love. I believe in love again. The supporting female character looks so awkward. She's been slapped in the face by both the male and female leads. I almost feel sorry for her. This teaches us a lesson. Money isn't everything. It can't buy love or true feelings. I smiled. Although money couldn't buy love or true feelings, it could buy the opportunity to destroy love and shatter true feelings. I looked at Feng Wanner and beckoned. "What will you choose?" Feng Wanner bit her lip, looking indecisive. After all, Lin Xingwei was handsome and was recognized as the campus heartthrob by the girls at school. She couldn't help but feel a secret joy at receiving Lin Xingwei's exclusive favor. Feng Wanner hesitated. I immediately understood her choice and smiled. "Okay, I respect your decision." Feng Wanner's face lit up. I continued, "Pay me back the tuition and living expenses for the past 3 years, and we'll be even." Feng Wanner's face instantly turned pale. The tuition at an elite school cost hundreds of thousands of yuan a year. Moreover, she had always tried to match my standard of living in terms of food, clothing, and daily expenses, which also cost 6 figures a year. Asking Feng Wanner to pay such a large sum of money at once was like a pipe dream. Seeing this, Lin Xingwei stepped forward. He spoke in a domineering president-like manner. "Wanner, don't worry, I'll pay this money for you." Feng Wanner's eyes sparkled with admiration, and she said shyly, "Master Lin, you're so kind," but I shattered their dreams mercilessly. Lin Xingwei said impatiently, what do you want? I've made it very clear, I don't like you. Please stop pestering me. I put my finger to my lips. I almost forgot about you. When are you going to pay back the tuition you owe? 3. The subtitles exploded. The supporting female character is so despicable. She's trying to break up this poor couple with money. Wasn't the male lead a good match for the supporting female character? Why can't he afford this small amount of money? The Lin family is only superficially prosperous. All their money has been squandered by his philandering father. They were right. A family that could marry into the Xian family was naturally not an ordinary one. Grandpa Lin and my grandpa had been comrades in arms for decades. The old men had a deep friendship, which was why they arranged a betrothal between Lin Xingwei and me when we were children. But since Grandpa Lin passed away 10 years ago, the Lin family had been declining. Lin Xingwei's parents were constantly having affairs and had countless illegitimate children. The collateral branches of the family fought for power, creating a chaotic and messy situation at home. In such circumstances, Lin Xingwei's life was not prosperous. He looked glamorous on the surface, but in fact, he was worse off than an ordinary well-off family. It was me who begged my parents not to cancel the engagement. I also begged my uncle, who was a school board member, to waive Lin Xingwei's tuition. Lin Xingwei knew very well about my efforts. Due to his so-called masculine pride, he never thanked me. Instead of being grateful, he accused me of throwing myself at him. He didn't realize that without the support of my family's marriage alliance, even if Lin Xingwei was reborn as an embryo, he was destined to fail in this life. I simply laid my cards on the table and held out my hand right in front of his eyes. What are you waiting for? Pay up. Beads of sweat rolled down Lin Xingwei's forehead. Not knowing the difficult situation of the Lin family, Feng Wanner fanned the flames beside him. Miss, why be so aggressive? Master Lin will pay you every penny. Just wait. The subtitles scrolled. Yes, when husband and wife work together, they can overcome anything, as long as the male and female leads work hard together. Becoming the richest people in the world is just around the corner, then the supporting female character will regret it. But it will be too late. Lin Xingwei, as if he had seen the words on the subtitles or thought of his success in the previous life, puffed out his chest and said righteously, I knew you were money-grubbing, but I didn't expect you to be so materialistic. Don't worry, I'll pay off all the debts. From now on, we're done, and there will be no more interaction between us. As sonorous and forceful as his words were, his figure was just as embarrassed when he rolled out of the school with a snake skin bag on his back, sitting on a tricycle. Feng Wanner's white dress was stained with dust, and she looked panicked. Master Lin, are we really going to drop out of school? Lin Xingwei took her hand and smiled. Wanner, don't be afraid, I've already found a new school. As long as we can be together, what do we have to fear? Even if there are mountains of knives and seas of fire ahead, Feng Wanner forced a smile. Before the Feng family went bankrupt, she was a little princess doted on by everyone. Even after the bankruptcy, she didn't suffer much because of my sponsorship. She had thought that getting close to Lin Xingwei would allow her to cross social classes, but she didn't expect a big gap between her ideals and reality. While they were talking, the driver took me to the school gate. I gracefully got out of the car, followed by 2 students, a boy and a girl. One carried my bag, and the other opened the door for me. When Lin Xingwei saw this scene, he wore a determined expression. He said to Feng Wanner, Xian Han is coming for me. If she means no good, you run away. She won't dare to do anything to me. Feng Wanner clutched the hem of her skirt and nodded. Lin Xingwei took a deep breath, as if going to his death. Xian Han, stop pestering me. I won't give in. Give up your idea. I stopped, not even glancing at him. Where are the security guards? Throw out the irrelevant people. A security guard rushed over and pushed Lin Xingwei out of the school gate. I walked into the school leisurely, not looking back once. The subtitles were filled with arguments. What's going on? Shouldn't the supporting female character cry, make a scene, and threaten to commit suicide to keep the male lead? Don't worry, the supporting female character is playing hard to get. I don't believe she can give up the 18-year friendship. Despite her show of power now, her heart must be bleeding. I sneered. Lin Xingwei and I had been childhood friends for 18 years, plus 5 years of married life in the previous life. He still broke things off without hesitation, so what was there for me to miss? Goodbye is goodbye. The next one will be even better. 4. Feng Wanner looked at Lin Xingwei, then at me, and finally couldn't help but say, Miss, actually I. Lin Xingwei interrupted her angrily. Wanner, you don't need to beg her. Lin Xingwei, am a man of my word and will never bow down to a woman. After saying that, Lin Xingwei handed a 10 yuan bill to the rickshaw driver. Telling him to hurry up, Feng Wanner hesitated. The idea of crossing social classes through marriage prevailed, and she obediently crouched in the back seat of the tricycle. The two of them disappeared into the distant horizon. Seeing this, the poor male and female students behind me moved closer. Afraid that I would change my mind and stop Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner, they had finally got the chance to serve me closely and enjoy more resources of the upper class. How could they be willing to give it up? The subtitles remained in front of my eyes. In this modern society, the supporting female character still acts like a feudal remnant. It's really unbearable. No wonder the male lead left her. She's too overbearing. Who would like her? When the male lead becomes successful, don't blame him for hiring the supporting female character to clean toilets. Just thinking of that scene makes me want to laugh. My eyes darkened. Hire me to clean toilets. I'd rather pull Lin Xingwei's head off and throw it into the toilet. There was plenty of time ahead. I wanted to see what he was capable of and if he could ride roughshod over me. 5. After transferring to a public school, Lin Xingwei tried to save up startup capital by tutoring. I made a call to the mayor's hotline and reported him for illegal teaching. Lin Xingwei wanted to get rich by buying lottery tickets. I bought all the lottery tickets before him and even won several million yuan. Whatever Lin Xingwei tried to do, I sabotaged. The subtitles were so angry that they started cursing. The male lead has achieved nothing. Can he really give the female lead a happy life? The supporting female character is terrifying. She'll do anything to get the male lead back. This is a twisted kind of love. The subtitles were talking nonsense, but Lin Xingwei believed them. He asked me to meet him at a restaurant near the school gate. His eyes were full of contempt when he looked at me. Xian Han, have you had enough? I crossed my arms, keeping a distance from him. What do you mean? Stop pretending, Lin Xingwei snorted. Don't think I don't know what you've been up to behind my back. You've used every trick in the book to force me back to you, but my heart belongs to Wanner, and I will never give in because of your measly money. As he spoke, saliva flew out of his mouth and landed in the greasy cup. I felt nauseous. Don't flatter yourself. If you hadn't told me you'd pay back the money, do you think I'd want to see you? Lin Xingwei wouldn't let it go. Humph. Duplicity, if you don't like me. Why are you targeting me everywhere? Anyone with sense knows the reason. I was so angry that I laughed. If someone slapped Lin Xingwei twice, he'd probably think they were into SM. The reason I targeted Lin Xingwei was to nip the risks in the bud. Without the support of my family, the probability of Lin Xingwei becoming the richest man was only 1 in a million, but even with such a slim chance, I would never let him grow unchecked. Since ancient times, the business world has been like a battlefield. Those who can't be ruthless will be eliminated by the times. Lin Xingwei thought I was trapped in petty love, but he didn't know that my vision had extended to the future. In fact, it was he himself who couldn't get out of this past relationship. 6. I was too lazy to argue with Lin Xingwei and picked up my bag to leave. Lin Xingwei hurriedly blocked my way. You haven't promised to stay out of my life. You can't leave. He even grabbed my wrist. Bang. Before I could react, Lin Xingwei flew out and crashed into a large number of tables and chairs in the restaurant. Wei Huai, the poor student I sponsored, appeared. He had been waiting outside. He came in to check when he heard the commotion inside. He couldn't hold back and kicked Lin Xingwei when he saw him getting handsy with me. Wei Huai walked up to me, carefully holding my hand. There was no stupid love in his eyes, only a craving for money. Miss, are you okay? I shook my head and said to the stunned restaurant manager, tell me the amount of the damage, I'll pay for it. The manager came to his senses and quickly started calculating the losses. Lin Xingwei lay on the floor, covered in soup. His cheap clothes were torn, and soup was dripping from his hair, making him look extremely confounded. As he struggled to get up, his eyes were bloodshot. You poor bastard, how dare you hit me? Do you want to die, unlike Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner, who were from fallen aristocratic families? Wei Huai was a genuine poor student. He relied on government subsidies even for his compulsory education. My father, recognizing his talent, saw his name on the honor roll of the high school entrance examination and generously took care of his living expenses and tuition, only asking him to tutor me in my studies. However, I didn't like studying and usually ignored Wei Huai as if he were air. Lin Xingwei knew about his existence but never took him seriously. Now, though, Wei Huai had suddenly become my right-hand man, and Lin Xingwei finally panicked. Xian Han, even if you want to make me turn back, there's no need to find some random guy to provoke me, right? The way you're throwing yourself at him so cheaply just makes me feel disgusted. I stopped in my tracks and glanced at Wei Huai, understanding my signal. He landed a left hook that sent Lin Xingwei crashing to the ground. The chili oil and vinegar on the dining table spilled all over him, and he reeked of the strong smell. Physics-level jealousy. What's going on? I came here to watch the growth of a domineering CEO and campus romance, not to see the male lead getting bullied. Did the male lead get the wrong script? Take a left turn and go to the male-oriented novels. Follow the breaking the engagement and cultivation storyline. It's the female supporting character who's supposed to be the one with the broken engagement. Okay, doesn't she like the male lead? Why isn't she chasing after him to make amends instead of sending her fiancé to his doom? The bullet comments finally caught on. My disgust for Lin Xingwei didn't seem like an act. Words could deceive, and expressions could be faked, but the force of a real punch couldn't be simulated. That was a brutal beating. If I had even the slightest bit of affection for Lin Xingwei, I would never have allowed Wei Huai to mistreat him. The bullet commenters didn't know that out of our longtime friendship as childhood neighbors, I once had high hopes for him. Since he held the title of my fiancé, he shouldn't be an uneducated and incompetent man, so I paid for Lin Xingwei's schooling, subsidized his living expenses, and tried to enhance his reputation, so that he wouldn't lower my status when standing beside me. But he was greedy, ungrateful, and even turned against me. Then he shouldn't blame me for using some underhanded methods to deal with this so-called high-class person. 7. From that day on, Lin Xingwei became more subdued. The bullet comments daily reported on his love life with Feng Wanner, and it was clear that they weren't living a happy life. The female lead has to work at a convenience store after evening self-study. She's so hard-working. The male lead stays in the rental house every day waiting for the female lead to come home and cook. Can't he do some housework? Come on. The male lead is going to be the world's richest man. How could he do such menial chores? Besides, as long as there's love, the female lead will be touched. It's the female lead's birthday next week. I wonder what gift he'll prepare. I remember that in the previous life, the female lead received a Cartier bracelet as a gift. At that time, she wasn't even the male lead's girlfriend yet. She's surely going to get an even more expensive gift this time. The bullet comments fantasized about the bright future of Lin Xingwei and Feng Wanner. But I scoffed. If I remembered correctly, it was my money that Lin Xingwei used to buy the gift in his previous life. It's easy to be generous when spending others' money. Would he still be so lavish when he had to pay out of his own pocket? On the weekend, I took Wei Huai and another underprivileged student, Tan Ku, shopping at the mall. The salesgirls greeted us with smiles and enthusiastically introduced the latest seasonal products. I looked around and pointed. I want everything over there and here. Wrap them up and send them to my place. Wei Huai and Tan Ku were used to my extravagance and stood by, waiting for my orders. Just as I was resting on the sofa, a commotion suddenly reached my ears. Wanner, today is your birthday, and I want to give you a special gift. It was Lin Xingwei's voice. He had actually come to the luxury store too. Feng Wanner was extremely delighted, and her face beamed like a blooming flower. I knew you wouldn't let me down. I understand that these days were your test for me. Don't worry. Whether we're poor or rich, I'll always be by your side. The bullet comments went wild. This is true love. They're indeed my top-ranked couple. They must be happy forever. The female supporting character must be grinding her teeth in jealousy. So what if she's rich? She'll never have love as sincere as the female leads. Lin Xingwei looked at Feng Wanner with affection and gently stroked her hair. The store clerk quickly approached. Welcome, sir and madam. What can I do for you? Feng Wanner blurted out. Show me the most expensive. Lin Xingwei interrupted her and said to the clerk, can I have a rose from the bouquet at the door? The clerk, not understanding, nodded. Lin Xingwei plucked a rose from the bouquet at the door and handed it to Feng Wanner. Happy birthday, Wanner. 8. The rose looked withered, its petals dry and yellow. Compared with the luxurious interior of the store, it was rather shabby. Feng Wanner's smile froze on her face. Xingwei, are you kidding me? What she wanted as a birthday gift was luxury items and the envious glances of others, not a random, wilted rose. Lin Xingwei remained calm and pinned the rose behind his girlfriend's ear. This is your birthday gift. Don't you like it? She didn't just dislike it. Feng Wanner was furious. She snatched the rose from behind her ear and threw it on the ground. Are you crazy? Who wants this lousy rose? Do you think I'm a beggar? Lin Xingwei frowned slightly. It's still my heartfelt gift. If you don't like it, that's fine. But why humiliate me? If I had known you were such a gold digger, I wouldn't have been with you. Feng Wanner sneered and shook off Lin Xingwei's hand. Me, a gold digger? How noble are you? I've been working to pay for the rent and living expenses. What have you contributed? Lin Xingwei sighed. One should have long-term vision. When I'm rich, I can give you anything you want. Feng Wanner laughed angrily. Bah, still making empty promises. I'm not a fool. I'd rather go back to the Xian family and serve Xian Han than be your free maid. Her words hit hard. Lin Xingwei seemed deeply insulted, his eyes turning red. Me? Having you as my maid? I'm the one who's been struggling to support you. I go to class during the day and work hard at my part-time job at night, all for our future. Do you know whose love you're receiving? It's the love of the future world's richest man. I couldn't hold back and burst out laughing. Lin Xingwei spun around as if electrocuted, his face turning extremely pale. Feng Wan'er flinched, her arrogance vanishing. Miss Xian. She seemed eager to rush over and pour out her grievances about these tough days. However, Wei Huai and Tan Ke weren't about to let their cash cow go. They firmly stood in front of me and blocked Feng Wan'er. She cursed, "Get out of my way, you poor wretches. How dare you act so high and mighty in front of me? I'll make you pay when I get back to the Xian family." Wei Huai and Tan Ke remained expressionless. They knew very well who was in charge of the Xian family. Feng Wan'er was like a dog that had bitten its master, then gone out, suffered, and now wanted to come back to its master for food. Unfortunately, there's no turning back from mistakes. The moment she betrayed me, she should have known there was no going back. Lin Xingwei reacted much more calmly, ignoring the hysterical Feng Wan'er. He gave a bitter smile. "Xian Han, this is your scheme, isn't it? Congratulations, you've won. You've defeated me with money. You can have my body, but the price is that you'll never have my heart. Let's go. I'm willing to fulfill our engagement." With that, he closed his eyes, looking resigned to his fate. Facing this so-called touching scene, I turned to Tan Ke. "How much does pig heart cost per caddy?" Tan Ke was taken aback and hesitated. "About 10 odd yuan per caddy at the wet market, I think." I nodded. "Go buy 10 caddies and give them to Lin Xingwei. If there are pig brains available, get a few caddies too. He could use the brain supplement. Ha 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 ha." The female supporting character's words are too harsh, they're self-destructively sarcastic. I'm now sure the female supporting character really has fallen out of love. The male lead and female lead should just get together. Lin Xingwei stared in disbelief, and the rose in his hand dropped to the ground. I turned and left, with Feng Wan'er's cries echoing behind me. Without the support of money, this relationship shed its naivete and shattered its illusions, leaving them nothing but a mess. 9. Life got back on track. I was busy with school, exams, and preparing my portfolio to apply for overseas universities, gradually forgetting about Lin Xingwei. But while I had moved on, my parents hadn't. They stormed over to the Lin family demanding an explanation, and when they got home, they started looking for a new marriage partner for me. I firmly refused. I haven't achieved anything in my career yet. How can I think about starting a family? Mom and Dad, stop pushing me. It's not too late to find someone after I graduate. My parents couldn't persuade me and had to give in. Before I left, they held a banquet for me, inviting young talents of my age and social status. If I took a liking to someone, that person could become my fiancé. If not, we'd wait until after I graduated. I reluctantly agreed. On the day of the banquet, I dressed up extravagantly and mingled among the elders, winning countless compliments, as if by mutual agreement. No one mentioned Lin Xingwei's name. He was like a forgotten ripple, disappearing beneath the turbulent waves of high society. After a few drinks, I accepted an invitation from a young man to dance. My parents watched us with loving eyes, looking very pleased. The music flowed like water until a harsh voice cut through the air. "Xian Han, you're my fiancé, yet you're dancing with someone else. Do you still have me, your fiancé, in your eyes?" Lin Xingwei suddenly appeared out of nowhere, his eyes sharp and his aura gloomy, but paired with his cheap synthetic fiber clothes, he didn't look like the brooding, domineering CEO from novels. Instead, he resembled a stalker on the street. Everyone was shocked by this unexpected turn of events and started whispering among themselves. Standing on the stairs and looking down at the crowd, Lin Xingwei said in a hoarse voice, "This game should end now. Xian Han, if you come with me to register our marriage now, I'll forgive your mistake." Even the most good-natured person would be enraged by such words, and I was never known for my good temper. Dark anger welled up in my eyes, and I remained silent. Wei Huai, quick to notice, stepped in to defuse the situation. "How did this uninvited person get in?" "Security, escort him out." Lin Xingwei flew into a rage. "Who do you think you are to talk to me? Once I marry Xian Han, the first thing I'll do is kick you out of the Xian family. Just because she dotes on you doesn't mean you're special. Go back to your slum. You'll never be able to cross into our upper-class world." Many of the guests had risen from humble beginnings, and they turned livid upon hearing these words. The male lead is being too arrogant. Does he think he's so noble? A fallen phoenix is worse than a chicken. He doesn't even understand such a simple truth. the male lead just wants to feel superior, but he doesn't realize he's the clown. The bullet comments saw through Lin Xingwei's true nature. When someone is in a high position, thoughtless words can be glossed over as signs of informality, but when someone is in a low position, presumptuously giving orders can be a fatal mistake. Without my intervention, others were more than happy to teach him a lesson. The security guards grabbed Lin Xingwei's arms and dragged him towards the door. Lin Xingwei shuddered, his pupils dilated, and he suddenly broke free. Let go of me. I'm the son-in-law of the Xian family. Don't you dare touch me. Xian Han, don't you love me the most? Come and say something for me. I waved my hand, and the security guards released his arms. He collapsed on the ground, gasping for breath like a dog that had been whipped, but with a triumphant smile on his face. I knew you couldn't bear to part with me. I walked gracefully towards Lin Xingwei in my high-heeled boots. Indeed, there's something about you that I can't let go of. 10. Hope flickered in Lin Xingwei's eyes. I held out my hand. Pay back the money you owe me. Over the years, I had invested hundreds of thousands of yuan in Lin Xingwei. Originally, I didn't care about this money and thought of it as money thrown away, but Lin Xingwei's repeated provocations had infuriated me. Since he didn't want to live a peaceful life and insisted on getting into huge debt, I'd make sure he did. Lin Xingwei's heart shattered. Xian Han, you wouldn't be this heartless, right? I smiled slightly. Sorry, but I am. I'll send the bill to the Lin family. Make sure to check it. Lin Xingwei was kicked out of the Xian family, filled with regret. Why had he given up on me, the heir of a wealthy family, for a vain, poor student? But Lin Xingwei didn't have time to dwell on it. The heavy burden of life came crashing down on him. His father suddenly had a stroke and died in his mistress's bed, a disgraceful end. His mother ran away with the money, the final straw that broke the camel's back. Creditors came knocking, claiming that his father had owed a mountain of high-interest loans and that as the son, Lin Xingwei had to pay back 1,000,000 yuan within the specified time limit. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lin Xingwei bought a bus ticket and tried to flee that very night, but before the bus could leave, he was dragged off by debt collectors, thrown into a dark room, and severely beaten. I learned all this from Wei Huai. He stayed in the country to attend university, and my parents planned to train him to be my capable assistant. Wei Huai said. Lin Xingwei is now desperate. He goes to the Xian group every day to block the entrance, demanding that you marry him with your dowry, otherwise. He threatens to. He paused, then continued, otherwise, he'll reveal the company's secrets. I raised an eyebrow. Indeed, as my husband for 5 years in his previous life, Lin Xingwei knew some of the company's secrets. Since his emotional tactics hadn't worked, he was now resorting to blackmail. He was dreaming. I called the police without hesitation. The Xian family is a major taxpayer in the local area, providing countless job opportunities. It's not something that Lin Xingwei can easily bring down with just a few words. With a series of operations on my part, he finally ended up in prison on the charge of extortion. As for Feng Wanner, I happened to meet her abroad. She was following a pot-bellied man with a forced smile on her face, wearing heavy and gaudy makeup. She no longer had the fresh and charming appearance of the past. When Feng Wanner saw me shopping with Tan Ku, trying to hide her embarrassment, she said to the man cautiously, "Honey, I'm not feeling well. Let's go back early." The man cursed and turned away. Feng Wanner, in her high heels, clattered after him. Tan Ku asked me, "Miss, do you want to stop her?" I shook my head. Whether it's Lin Xingwei or Feng Wanner, they are just passers-by in my life. They have faded out of my world and can no longer stir up the slightest trouble. That's it. Extra chapter. Lin Xingwei. 1. For me, life is just an easy game. My fiancée is the highly praised young lady of the Xian family, from an illustrious family, elegant and generous, and I myself have managed to turn the tide, bringing the dying Lin Corporation back from the brink of bankruptcy. I have become a success in the eyes of the world, but I'm not satisfied with this. Success came too easily, leaving my heart feeling a bit empty. Just then, Feng Wanner appeared in my world. She was melancholy and broken, silently following behind Xian Han. Enduring the orders of this young lady, my heart was struck. Later, when Xian Han went abroad, I naturally got together with Feng Wanner. I loved her purity but hated her plainness. I betrayed Xian Han, yet I didn't think I was being too excessive. I told myself that Feng Wanner was just a substitute for Xian Han. When the real one came back from abroad, I would just give Feng Wanner a sum of money and send her away far. Despite all my calculations, I failed to predict my own heart. I fell in love with Wanner. She was different from Xian Han. At a young age, she had witnessed great ups and downs, yet she remained calm in the face of adversity. I thought such a life could go on forever, but the good times didn't last long. When Xian Han graduated and returned home, Wanner died of liver cancer. My life lost its color. Even though Xian Han helped me manage the company's affairs and assisted me in becoming the world's richest man, I still didn't treat her well. Since Wanner was dead, what was the use of all the money to me? Fortunately, God gave me a chance to start over. I was reborn on the day I confessed to Xian Han. Facing her outstretched hand, I pushed her away without thinking and turned to embrace Wanner. Wanner's cheeks were flushed, more beautiful than a delicate rose. The bullet comments were also cheering for my performance. In this life, I will follow my heart and never let myself be wronged again, too. But the development of the situation was beyond my imagination. I thought Xian Han would cry and beg me not to leave, so that I could humiliate her severely and avenge Wanner from the previous life. Unexpectedly, she didn't spare me an extra glance but directly asked for the money. What a joke. Money. I had plenty of it. I reached into my pocket, intending to take out my black card and throw it in Xian Han's face, but I only touched a campus card, which was actually handled for me by Xian Han. I belatedly realized that I was only 18 years old at this time and had not yet become the world-famous richest man, but it doesn't matter. Don't look down on a young man because of his poverty. Given time, I will surely wash away today's humiliation. I'll just owe Xian Han the money for now and deal with it later. 3. A gentleman can endure poverty and will not bow down for a small amount of money. I want to drop out of school. The extravagant atmosphere of the noble school makes me feel sick. It's definitely not because I can't afford the tuition fees and have been isolated by my classmates. As soon as I made up my mind, I planned to take Wanner and drop out of school together, and transfer to a public school with the lowest expenses. However, Wanner seemed a bit reluctant. I patted my chest and promised, as long as I'm here, I will never let you be wronged, even if there is some temporary grievance. I believe that the future is promising. Reluctantly, Wanner got on the tricycle I hired. With a resentful expression, I suddenly remembered that there was still 2,000 yuan left on my meal card. Why not sell it to my classmates and make a little profit? Wanner waited for me in the cold wind, shivering from the cold. When I was ready to leave after handling all the matters, Xian Han arrived at the school gate gracefully in a private car. The license plate number from Beijing had 5/8. In the previous life, it was clearly my vehicle. I swallowed my resentment and watched coldly. Even if Xian Han gave me the car on the spot, I would never become the son-in-law of the Xian family. Surprisingly, Xian Han didn't show the slightest sign of trying to keep me. On the contrary, there were 2 new attendants following behind her. They were more handsome and beautiful than me and Wanner. My anger flared up, but my self-restraint was good enough that I didn't question Xian Han's intentions. What a clever move of retreating to advance. Women. Xian Han cast a puzzled look at me. I proudly puffed out my chest, but what I heard was her order to have me thrown out. This wasn't right. Without time to think further, I angrily jumped onto the tricycle. A woman who turns from love to hate is really terrifying. There's no way. My charm is just that great. 4. But charm can't be used as food. After transferring to the public school, I still had to worry about my livelihood. Xian Han launched a fierce pursuit of me, trying to force me to give in. Even if I starved to death, I wouldn't separate from Wanner. But Wanner's resentment grew stronger and stronger. She was no longer as delicate and sensitive as in the previous life, but instead was hysterical like a shrew. Firewood, rice, oil, salt, electricity bills, and water bills became the unchanging topics in her mouth. Looking at Feng Wanner's face, I couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Was this still the woman who talked about romantic things with me and obeyed me in everything? Feeling disappointed, I couldn't help but contact Xian Han. Maybe by looking at her face, I could rekindle my love for Wanner. Xian Han was still as elegant as ever. She glanced at me indifferently, showing neither joy nor sorrow. A strange sense of satisfaction welled up in me. It seemed that Xian Han still loved me. Otherwise, why would she come to the appointment? Before I could say a few words, Xian Han shyly ran away. How could I let her go? I reached out to hold her wrist just like in the previous life. But before I could touch that softness, Wei Huai rushed in front of me and kicked me away. I was enraged. For a moment, Xian Han was actually having an affair with a poor guy. Where did she put the face of me? Her fiancé. Men have their pride. Xian Han had gone too far. I wouldn't forgive her. Before I could utter my harsh words, Xian Han turned and left. She must not want me to see her tears. Right. Well, it's not impossible to forgive her. I returned to the rental house with a bruised face. Seeing this, Feng Wanner had a big argument with me again. The meal was cold, and there was no food in the pot. I was extremely tired and just wanted to lie lazily on the bed and rest. Suddenly, an idea popped into my head. In fact, it wouldn't be bad to make up with Xi and Han. At least the servants in her house were sensible and could take good care of me. Later, it was Feng Wanner's birthday. I kindly took her to a luxury store to see the world and gave her a romantic rose. Unexpectedly, Feng Wanner had a fit on the spot and said she might as well go back to the Xian family and be a servant. I was angry. Being a servant for Xi and Han could indeed bring generous rewards, but could she get a love that could move heaven and earth? When did Feng Wanner become so vulgar? There was a snort of laughter from the corner. I looked closely and saw Xi and Han laughing freely. She must think that I had broken up with Feng Wanner. I was disheartened. Even though I'm a genius, I still can't escape Xi and Han's clutches after all. Forget it, I admit defeat. I will live a good life with Xi and Han in the future and lie on the cold banknotes every day to remember this love that ended without a result. But why couldn't Xi and Han stop laughing? And the bullet comments were also scolding me for relying on women while acting arrogantly. They clearly supported me being with Feng Wanner before. 5. My fate is in my own hands, not in the hands of heaven. The more the bullet comments try to manipulate my life, the more I won't let them have their way. As soon as I got back to the rental house, I immediately broke up with Feng Wanner. She didn't even take her change of clothes and fled away in a hired car as fast as she could. I let out a long sigh. I packed my luggage and prepared to move into the Xian family's house, calculating the time. Xi and Han was almost at the time to study abroad. This time, I'm willing to reluctantly go abroad with her to prevent that guy named Wei from stealing her heart. With great difficulty, I sneaked into the Xian family's villa, thinking about how to make up with Xi and Han. However, she gave me a heavy blow. She actually danced with a strange man in full view of everyone. Did she still remember that she was a married woman? I was extremely angry and blurted out some unpleasant words. Xi and Han's eyes looking at me gradually turned cold. No, it shouldn't be like this. Despite the whispers of the crowd and the sarcasm of the bullet comments, I reached out my hand to Xi and Han. Lin Xingwei frowned and looked at me with contempt. What greeted me were the fists of the security guards raining down on me. I was thrown out of the Xian family's house and had to lick my wounds alone. There came the sad news from home. My father had a stroke and died, and my mother ran away with the money. From then on, I became truly alone. I gave a bitter smile. As the saying goes, when heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on someone, it must first test his will. Xi and Han, I'm willing to play the good show of a bitter and deep love with you. But as soon as I finished my harsh words, the police came to my door. They said I was suspected of spreading rumors and slander and invited me to the police station for a talk. I finally experienced Xi and Han's coldness and ruthlessness firsthand, but it doesn't matter. As long as I persevere, she will surely come back to me obediently. After all, my charm is irresistible. A year later, I was released from prison after serving my sentence and prepared to go abroad to find Xi and Han and resume our relationship. But I didn't have a penny on me and couldn't even afford a one-way plane ticket, so I had to go to the construction site to carry bricks and save money. I will become the world's richest man. I will make Xi and Han turn around for me. I will. Suddenly, the steel bar above my head fell down, accompanied by the screams of other workers. My beautiful dream, completely shattered. Story 2. In my previous life, I was in the 7th year of my relationship with my boyfriend when I died in a sudden flood. My soul lingered and stayed by his side. I watched him wander through his days and a days, breaking down into tears over the news of my death. I saw him abandon everything else and wither away, clinging to our memories until his last moments. As his life came to an end, he held a photo of me and vowed never to let go of my hand in the next life. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on the day of the flood, with the memories of my previous life. I managed to survive and eventually married him. However, the man who loved me so deeply in my past life that he could die of heartbreak betrayed me 5 years into our marriage. Just when I had become pregnant, I first saw them at the hospital lobby. The girl seemed to be injured. Haisuko rushed into the hospital with her in his arms, charging through the crowd as he shouted for people to make way. He was so panicked that he didn't see anyone else, not even me. So, when he ran past me, he accidentally bumped into me, causing me to lose balance and fall to the ground. My prenatal checkup papers were even stepped on by him. A nurse helped me up and picked up the papers, muttering, "Your girlfriend is precious, but someone else's wife and child are treasures too." After 7 years of dating and 5 years of marriage, I recognized him instantly, even just from his back. I had never seen the girl before. Perhaps she was a colleague, a friend, or maybe just an injured stranger he had met by chance on the street. For that moment, I believed in his love for me and trusted he wouldn't betray me, but something compelled me to follow them discreetly. At the orthopedic clinic, I saw them again as they entered the consultation room together. The door wasn't fully closed, so I stood by the doorway, peeking through the crack. The girl had injured her ankle and sat on a chair, sobbing continuously, a teardrop-shaped crystal clear necklace hung around her neck, shimmering beautifully. Haisuko sat beside the girl, holding her hand tightly, repeatedly comforting her in a soft voice. It's just a minor sprain, it won't hurt. The girl was still scared, so Haisuko wrapped his arms around her. The doctor chuckled and teased, your little girlfriend is quite delicate. Haisuko laughed too, wiped her tears, and continued to coax her gently. Yes, she's incredibly delicate, cries every day. Listening to Haisuko's words, the girl playfully acted angry and punched him several times in the chest. Haisuko, if you find me annoying or too delicate, then just leave me alone. Haisuko shook his head, his smile affectionate. Even if you're delicate, I still like it. With just a few simple words, he cheered up the girl and even made the doctor laugh. They looked just like a couple deeply in love, and there I was, standing still, feeling like a thief spying on someone else's happiness. I never imagined that Haisuko would betray me. We both had humble beginnings, abandoned by our biological parents and growing up as orphans. We first met in high school when he was mocked by others for being an orphan. He clenched his fists but dared not to retort, showing timidity and cowardice. The person reminded me of my former self, which is why I felt compelled to teach them a lesson. Back then, my classmates thought of me as a lunatic and my teachers saw me as a waste of space. Anyone who dared to bully me would face severe consequences. I told Hisui-Chow, so what if we're orphans? The director of the orphanage is like our mother, and the other kids there are our brothers and sisters. We have no reason to feel inferior. When I couldn't stand it anymore, I'd just throw a punch to shut them up. Hisui-Chow probably had never seen a girl as fierce as me before. He stood there stunned for a while, then hesitantly clenched his fists and swung at the air a couple of times. He asked me, is this how you throw a punch? I laughed and said, if you really can't fight, just find me. I'll fight for you. Since we were both orphans, I didn't charge him any money. At first, it was just physical attraction, but over time, we found a deep connection. His face was distractingly handsome, and from the moment I met him, I was smitten. Our similar tragic backgrounds, from high school to university, from superficial appearances to sincere hearts, brought us closer. We experienced so much together and eventually fell deeply in love without reservations. If only I hadn't died in that flood, maybe we would have had a lifetime of happiness. At least, that's what I always thought in my past life. I hate being constrained. Unlike Hisui-Chow's quiet demeanor, I always wanted to see the world's most beautiful sights. So my biggest motivation to earn money was to travel the world and free my spirit. However, during one of my trips, I encountered the flood that claimed my life. It all happened too suddenly. The bridge collapsed, the flood was fierce, and ultimately, it took many lives, including mine. When Hisui-Chow heard about the accident, he searched tirelessly for me for 7 whole days, until my remains were unearthed. He sat on the ground, covered in mud, then broke down and wept. Afterward, he repeatedly cut his wrists, saying he didn't want me to be lonely in the afterlife, so he wanted to join me. He was hospitalized countless times. Eventually, it was the orphanage director who convinced him to carry on with the memory of me and to live well. Hisui-Chow survived, but he was like a walking corpse. He donated all his earnings to the orphanage. After abandoning everything, he just sat by my photo, living in sorrow for years, until he suddenly passed away at a young age. So, when I found out I had been reborn, I desperately escaped the flood that was meant to take my life, gave up my dream of traveling the world, and strived to live a stable life, staying by his side and never leaving again. I thought we would live out this life simply and happily, but just 5 years later, Hisui-Chow, who once loved me so much, cheated. This realization left me not just sad, but also in despair, because I was pregnant. I gently touched my belly. This child was hard won. It was the baby Hisui-Chow and I had longed for years. At first, when I was experiencing morning sickness, I thought it was just my body being weak, afraid it might end in disappointment. He didn't tell him right away. A person arrived at the hospital with a nervous heart, had their blood drawn, and then went to see the doctor. After scanning the medical record, the doctor smiled at me and said, "Congratulations, you're going to be a mother." At that moment, I was truly overjoyed. So overjoyed that I couldn't wait to get home. As soon as I left the consultation room, I wanted to share the good news with Hisui-Chow, but I held back, because today was our 5th wedding anniversary. Hisui-Chow had mentioned he had a gift for me, Something he said I would really like. I had a good guess of what it might be. It was a crystal necklace I had long coveted but never managed to persuade the owner to sell to me. Last month, He Sui Chow had made a special trip abroad. Later, the owner sent me a message. She hinted subtly that my husband loved me very much, said she was willing to part with it, wishing me happiness, but now, that necklace was worn by someone else. It wasn't just the necklace. Now, even He Sui Chow himself was no longer mine. I went home and sat on the sofa from day into night. The steak on the table had gradually cooled, but the person who was supposed to return never did. It wasn't until 11:52, He Sui Chow sent me a message saying he had to go on a sudden business trip for work, and he was already abroad. He told me not to worry. He also said we would celebrate our anniversary when he returned, and he would make up for the gift then, but not everything can be redone. I blew out the candle and dumped the cold steak into the trash bin. Perhaps I was mentally prepared, so when I saw that message, I wasn't as upset as I expected. I even felt somewhat relieved to know first. That's why I didn't cook a candlelit dinner myself, but ordered from a well-reviewed restaurant, making sure to use He Sui Chow's card for the delivery. If he didn't come back, the destination of this delivery was the trash. Just like him, the dean's mother always said I was stubborn since I was young. If I wanted something, I would find a way to get it, but once I felt it wasn't that important anymore, no matter how deeply I loved it before, I could let go without clinging. I glanced at the time. It was exactly midnight. I sat on the sofa, looking out towards the balcony, seeing nothing but the dark sky. I remembered adding the doctor's contact information when I returned from the hospital. He mentioned he would be on duty these days. Whether I wanted this child or not, I could tell him in advance. So, I sent him a message. I asked him, if I decide on an abortion, could you schedule the procedure soon? The doctor replied quickly. He said, if you decide and after a checkup shows no issues, the earliest we can schedule an abortion is next Tuesday. If you're sure, come to the hospital and see me. I gently touched my lower abdomen. Child, forgive me. If there isn't a happy family waiting for you, it's better to leave early and find another mom and dad. At least, it wouldn't be so painful. Before the surgery could even be arranged, I received an invitation from my alma mater. He Sui Chow and I didn't attend the same university. We lived at opposite ends of the same city and could only meet on weekends. Each time we met, he would bring me green grape cakes, and I would buy him osmanthus-flavored milk tea, a specialty of my school. He Sui Chow was rather delicate in his tastes. He liked his milk tea very sweet, detested being out in the wind and sun, and couldn't handle the slightest hardship. That's why it's hard for me to forget the year when he found out I had an accident. He dug with his bare hands for 7 days and nights, his fingers raw and bleeding, his hands a mess of blood and mud. It pained my heart, because the He Sui Chow I remember truly loved me deeply. However, that relationship eventually couldn't withstand the test of time. I accepted the invitation from my alma mater, but I never expected to see them again at the school. After finishing my speech on stage, a girl stood up and asked me a question with a microphone in hand. Hello, senior. I'm a junior in the journalism department, Lu Man. My question today isn't directly related to my major, but I wonder if you're still willing to answer. I nodded, noticing the challenge in her eyes. So, she knew who I was. Lu Man smiled slightly. I heard that you were a well-known journalist and later returned to family life for love. You've been married for 5 years. Are you happy? Are you afraid of the 7-year itch? I gripped the microphone, trying to control my emotions. I used to be a rebellious student, unafraid of anyone or anything, but after a near-death experience and seeing He Sui Chow devastated by my death, I decided to soften my edges and become a gentle, intellectual woman. But this doesn't mean I'm willing to tolerate provocation, so, I simply responded with a light laugh. Love is unpredictable by nature. As for the 7-year itch you mentioned, I always believe a man who is responsible for his family will not cheat, if that day does come. All I can say is that he and that mistress would deserve each other. I paused, then looked at Lu Man, who seemed a bit pale. I asked her, Lu, as a fellow woman, do you think someone who becomes the other woman has any dignity, under everyone's gaze? She naturally couldn't say that only those who aren't loved are mistresses, as that would definitely provoke backlash. She could only grit her teeth, nod difficultly, and force a smile. Perhaps frustrated, Lu Man couldn't help but add, but if that day really comes, as a wife, I think she's also quite useless for not being able to keep her husband's heart. I laughed. That's still better than knowingly being a mistress, willing to settle for leftovers without considering if they're tainted. People like that are merely picking up what others have discarded and are smug about it. Of course, men like that are no better, easily swayed by a mere gesture. How is that different from me throwing a bone to a stray dog, which then wags its tail at me? Then, pretending to be shocked, I covered my mouth with my hand. My mistake. How could I compare stray dogs with cheating men? Dogs are loyal companions to humans, while cheaters and mistresses, the trash of society, not even worth a second glance because it's so filthy. Junior sister Lou, do you think I'm right? I looked at Lou Man with a smile, my pride not allowing me to show even a hint of vulnerability in front of her. The long-lost fierceness felt surprisingly comforting. Perhaps, from the start, I shouldn't have tried to change myself for He Sui Chao, but in this silent battle, none of us won. He Sui Chao cheated, that just proves he didn't love me enough, so I didn't win. Lou Man knew it all along and was still proud, but she's destined to be despised, which also doesn't count as winning. Both of us have failed, but I have a clear conscience. I loved He Sui Chao sincerely and fervently. He betrayed me, and Lou Man knew everything, so, I'm not the one at fault, they are. After finishing my speech, I walked off the stage. Perhaps it was on purpose. From a distance, I saw Lou Man, and He Sui Chao with his back to me. He held a large bouquet of roses, bent over, and pinched her face. But Lou Man looked greatly wronged and cried in his arms. He Sui Chao held her, repeatedly soothing her in a gentle voice. I stood still. Lou Man seemed to glance at me, then looked at He Sui Chao, and spoke loudly enough for me to hear. She asked, Sui Chao, why are you so good to me? He Sui Chao wiped the tears from her eyes, his tone still gentle. He said, have you forgotten? I told you about a dream I had repeatedly before meeting you. In the dream, there was a girl who fell into water, and I desperately tried to save her, but she disappeared. I was very sad in the dream, so sad I almost wanted to die. Then I met you, and the first time we met, you accidentally fell into the water, and you really resembled that girl. Maybe, you are the girl from my dream, and our meeting was fate. So, it turned out to be this way. I stood there, unsure whether to laugh or cry, with the memories of my past life. I knew this was not just a dream, but a real pain I had experienced in my previous life. Are his memories of his past life gradually returning? He Sui Chao said he loved the girl in his dream, and then fell in love with Lou Man, but he doesn't know, the girl in the dream was me. But now, what does it matter? The betrayal is a fact. Suddenly, a sharp pain surged in my abdomen. I couldn't help but bend over, clutching my stomach in excruciating pain. Lou Man laughed, tiptoed to embrace He Sui Chao, and provocatively looked at me. She asked He Sui Chao, who is more important to you, me or Wen Qian? He Sui Chao didn't have time to answer, because suddenly, I felt a warm flow surge out, sliding down my legs. There were exclamations, nervousness, and people rushing to help me. And at this moment, someone turned their head. As our eyes met, panic was all I could see in his. Wen Qian, I stood still, watching him sprint toward me. I've always wanted to know, one day, when he finds out that the girl in his dreams is me, what would his expression be? He approached me quickly, his expression filled with panic. Qian, why are you here? I wore a long black dress today that reached my ankles. At that moment, I felt a sharp pain in my lower abdomen. Blood trickled down my legs, staining my white shoes red as it dripped to my ankles. The passing classmates couldn't help but gasp when they saw this. But he, merely turning around by chance after hearing the commotion, had just noticed me. He didn't see that I was bleeding. His eyes flitted anxiously between me and Lou Man. Qian, this is a misunderstanding, actually. Today I have, Before he could finish, Lou Man suddenly fell to the ground not far from us. A cry of alarm. This made he, who was still trying to explain in panic, immediately forget to cover up and ran straight to her. Man, are you okay? He helped her up. I could see that Lou Man had a severe scrape on her knee, now swollen and bleeding profusely. Looking quite serious, Lou Man shook her head, our eyes meeting as she shed a couple more tears. It hurts a bit. Can you take me to the medical office first? His spine stiffened suddenly. Perhaps it was only then he realized that his wife, whom he had officially married, was standing not far away, watching him fuss over another woman. He turned around, his expression apologetic. I'll take Man to the hospital first. Let's talk when I get back tonight. He didn't give me a chance to speak. After saying this, he carried Lou Man away without looking back, from beginning to end. He never saw that at this very moment, I was bleeding, losing our child. I took a deep breath as the pain in my lower abdomen intensified. I could feel the child slipping away from me. The pain almost made me unable to stand. I grabbed a passing student by the hand. Excuse me, could you please call 120 for me? I was in unbearable pain. The child was gone. the doctor said the pregnancy was weak to begin with, and coupled with my anxiety, it couldn't be saved. She even tried to comfort me by saying there would be other chances in the future, but honestly, I wasn't that upset. I had already decided not to keep the baby. The miscarriage due to an accident was just another way to achieve the result I wanted. Perhaps, the child also felt that being born into a broken home would have been suffocating. Regardless, the only connection between he and me in this world was now completely severed, because of the miscarriage. I stayed in the hospital overnight and received no calls or messages from he. This meant that not only did he not come home last night, but he was also with Lou Man all along. I recovered quickly due to my youth and could go home the next day. I didn't bring much with me, and when I left cleanly. Apart from myself, there is nothing else. It must be fate, or perhaps even the heavens couldn't stand to watch. They wanted me to make a decision quickly, so. At the turn of the hospital corridor, I bumped into Hisui, who was in a hurry. He was holding a pink water bottle and a bag of breakfast, though he had changed his clothes and wasn't wearing the white shirt from yesterday. Some things, if you think too deeply about them, only bring discomfort, but fate had it otherwise. He froze, trying to hide the water bottle and breakfast, but he realized that this action was somewhat childish, panic mixed with guilt, and in those few seconds, I watched him make numerous vain gestures. In the end, he just smiled, a guilty smile. He asked me, Chan, what brings you to the hospital? Is there something you need to do here? His question made me laugh out loud. Really, I couldn't control my laughter. I told him. Something to do. I came here for fun. Does that sound believable to you? Hisui's expression became serious. Silently, he said, don't beat around the bush. Let's solve whatever it is. You go home first. I promise I'll be there before noon, and we can talk about everything else later. Why put it off? Are you in a hurry to bring your little lover breakfast? It was early morning, and the hospital corridor was already bustling with people. People love gossip. At the mention of a little lover, they were all ears, looking back every few steps. Hisui, under the scrutiny of curious gazes, his ears turned red. When Qian is not what you think, and Man and I are just ordinary friends, don't think of others so vilely. When did you become so unreasonable? Look, every man caught cheating, even faced with undeniable evidence, still tries to deflect blame, as if self-deception could alleviate his guilt. But before I could speak, a door to a nearby ward opened, and Lu Man limped out. She was wearing a hospital gown, but as a college freshman, she couldn't hide her youthful vitality. Lu Man approached me with an innocent smile. Chan, you must have misunderstood he senior. We are just ordinary friends. We met at school because of my studies. If you have any grievances, feel free to vent them on me, but please don't embarrass him in front of so many people. Okay, such an understanding little lover. No wonder he was fond of her, but at that moment, the only thing I wanted was to divorce Hisui. Lu Man is just a sophomore. If her classmates and teachers knew that she, who looks decent, is involved with a married man, how could she face anyone at school? I spoke softly, but loud enough for both of them to hear clearly. The moment my words fell, I saw the expressions on both Lu Man's and Hisui's faces change dramatically, especially Lu Man. Her composure replaced by nervousness and fear. She dropped her pleasant facade and directly challenged me. Are you planning to ruin me at school? When Qian, you're too malicious. Hisui chimed in. Yes, that's too harsh. Chan, why must you act like this? Man and I are just friends. Don't spread rumors and tarnish a young girl's reputation so carelessly. Don't you think you're being too harsh? Harsh, if it weren't for the fact that I haven't hit anyone in years, and if it weren't for my current physical weakness, I would really like to scratch his face right now, but it's not too late. There will be an opportunity. I took several deep breaths. There was still a dull pain in my abdomen, and I dared not breathe too deeply. I just quietly watched Hisui face the exposure of his clumsy lies. 5 days ago, I came to the hospital and saw you rushing in with her in your arms, admitting in front of the doctor that you two are a couple. Yesterday, you said you were going on a business trip, but instead, you went to the school and were seen cuddling with Lu Man. Hisui, I'm not blind, I can see. If you had simply admitted it, I might have respected you more, but instead, you fabricate so many lies, pinning baseless accusations on me, calling me malicious and bad. Don't you think that's despicable? Saying this, I felt somewhat sad. The person I once loved so deeply, who could have died for me, who could have lived in melancholy for a lifetime, in the end. Without those hindrances and stumbling blocks, our feelings seem worthless. Between parting in life and death, one can't have it all. Maybe I'm just as those classmates used to say, born under an unlucky star, and thus doomed to unhappiness. I tried to control my emotions and keep a calm appearance. He sway, it has come to this point. What's the use of continuing to hide the truth? Perhaps my words were too straightforward. He sway, who had been vehemently denying everything, finally fell silent. He knows in his heart whether I am lying or deceiving him. He looked up at me, his arrogance subdued, his face filled with emotion and guilt. He opened his mouth to explain, but I stopped him first. I don't want this to get uglier. Since it has come to this, let's get a divorce. As soon as I finished speaking, I saw Lu Man laughing. He sway actually hesitated and seemed incredulous. When Qian, we've known each other for so many years. Do you really want a divorce just like that? Don't you have a heart? What else? I found it ridiculous. Otherwise, should I just keep our marriage, while you keep a mistress outside? Maybe when she gets tired of you, you'll find someone new. And me, I should just sit at home waiting for you, crying every day. Would that make me a person with a heart? After saying this, I made one last request. In this marriage, you are the one at fault, so you must leave with nothing. Do you have a problem with that? I'm not foolish. What's gone is gone. But the savings we've built up over the years, the comfortable life we've finally achieved, I can't just hand that over too. How could this be possible? Lu Man objected without thinking, holding tightly to He Sui's hand, then began to stir the pot. Sui Chao, after all these years of hard work, how can you give all your money to someone else? How are we supposed to live after that? I laughed. Didn't you fall for him because he's good at making money? If that's the case, then why don't you start from scratch with him? Or do you just want to reap the benefits without going through the struggle? Putting someone on a pedestal like this makes it hard for them to step down without losing face. Even if they feel irritated, they have no choice but to grit their teeth and agree. Just like now, Lu Man gritted her teeth and sneered. I love He Sui Chao the person, not his money. Even if he ends up with nothing, I'm willing to support him in making a comeback. It's just heartbreaking and feels so undeserved that he ended up marrying a woman like you who only cares about money. Seeing money and opening your eyes is still better than deceiving yourself and others. I responded softly, then took out my phone from my pocket and played the video I recorded yesterday. Before coming to the hospital yesterday, I made a point to get a video from one of the onlooking students. The video was comprehensive, documenting the entire incident. I played the video directly for them. My demands are only two. First, to divorce He Sui Chao. Second, for He Sui Chao to leave without taking anything. If these demands are not met, I cannot guarantee where this video will end up. Pushed to this point, Lu Man became somewhat uncontrollable, reaching out to snatch my phone, but I dodged her in time. Lu Man, since you did it, you must be brave enough to face the consequences. Don't think about using excuses later on. We're both journalism students. We know how powerful words can be. We also know that even without verification, enough voices can crush someone. Moreover, you both know very well whether you have done something against morals, don't you? It wasn't a threat, it was a fact, their fault. With the video in hand, even if just for Lu Man's reputation, He Sui Chao had no choice but to compromise and apply for a divorce at the Civil Affairs Office. As expected, there was a 30-day cooling-off period. He Sui Chao, I don't care if you choose to wander or stay with another woman. From today on, the house we lived in is mine, and you have no part in it. After these 30 days, we'll be divorced, and I don't want any contact ever again. Let's act as if we never knew each other. I've never been one to cling to my ex or keep in touch after a breakup. Once I decide to cut ties, it's for life, never to see each other again. He Sui Chao didn't respond immediately. He glanced at Lu Man, who was still waiting in the car, his expression complex. Qian, does it really have to be this way? He spoke with a sad tone, as if the wrongdoer was me. It was you who cheated, and now you ask me this. Don't you find yourself too hypocritical? I would have respected him more if he had openly admitted to falling in love with Lu Man and agreed to leave everything behind, never to see me again. That way, at least he'd be straightforward about his feelings. But now, I only felt more disappointed. Perhaps that summer when I saw him being bullied, I shouldn't have helped, only to end up sacrificing myself. After parting unhappily at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Office, I didn't go home. Instead, I checked into a hotel, planning to stay for a month, and hired a caretaker. Having just had a miscarriage, even with a strong constitution, I needed proper rest. The hotel allowed cooking, and the caretaker would come 3 times a day to prepare meals and clean. I spent my days lying in bed, browsing my phone, looking at landscapes from around the world, reawakening my long silent heart. If I had never met He Sui Chao, I should be traveling the world, seeing every mountain, river, and stream, rather than mourning my lost love in a hotel room. She didn't persist too much but wanted to make her presence felt around me, so she added me on WeChat using a secondary account without revealing her identity directly. However, my intuition told me that this suggestive yet unfamiliar account must belong to her. Moments on WeChat, June 24th. He wasn't in high spirits today, but with me by his side, he managed to smile. Photo, a half-smiling face, June 25th. The weather was great today. I convinced him to take me to the amusement park. He admitted he was a bit scared of heights, but I confidently assured him that I could protect him. It felt great to be able to protect the one I love. Photo, a carousel with us making heart shapes together, June 26th. It drizzled a bit, so we stayed in bed all day and watched a bunch of movies. Photo, a messy bed, July 24th. Everything ends tomorrow. After that, it will just be us, no one else. Photo, a victory sign, sitting on the couch. I took screenshots of these 20+ moments and saved them all. When I got to the last one, I paused, couldn't help but zoom in on the photo, and clearly saw the layout of the room behind her. It suddenly struck me as ridiculous. Hisui and I had chosen every brick and tile of that home together, not to mention the familiar sofa and the furniture I had carefully selected. No one knew it better than I did. At this moment, Lu Man was lying on my couch, sleeping where I once slept. It was nauseating. I ran out of bed barefoot, covering my mouth, and rushed to the bathroom to throw up, but nothing came out, just the discomfort of dry heaving. Tomorrow would be the day I could finally get a divorce, so I didn't make a scene but waited for dawn, waiting for the encounter in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Hisui was punctual. He wore a white shirt today and his hair was meticulously styled, clearly prepared for the occasion. I sneered, dressing so formally. Too bad divorce and marriage can't happen on the same day. My sarcastic tone made passers-by glance over. Hisui pursed his lips, staring at me for a long while until I walked into the Civil Affairs Bureau. Then, he suddenly called out to me, "Chanchan." I paused, and he continued, "I never wanted a divorce. How ridiculous. He betrays me and then says he doesn't want a divorce. Does he expect to have it all his way?" Hisui strode up to me, earnestly saying, "We've been together since high school. Supporting each other all these years. I truly love you." Regarding Man, I don't know how to explain it to you. It's an obsession that has seeped into my bones. If I don't act on it, it leaves me restless and sleepless. Chanchan, you haven't experienced this helplessness, this obsession. You don't understand how I feel. No, I understand. I've seen his helplessness, known his obsessions. That's why I was willing to give up my dreams, to cut off my own wings, just to stay by his side. Guarding the peaceful happiness he desired most, to be the perfect wife in his heart. But what was the result? I couldn't help but close my eyes. Perhaps there was still a trace of malice in my heart. The conversation about past lives has become increasingly clear to Hisui Chao. He is starting to match many details and might soon remember everything. But what would the scene look like when he realizes the person he loves is not the one beside him, considering what has been said today? I am curious and waiting for that day to arrive. However, I must first hold my ground, for I need to divorce first. And without the legal status of marriage, I will simply be myself. The divorce procedure wasn't complicated. In no time, I had the divorce certificate in hand, freeing myself from the identity of Hisui Chao's wife. Leaving the Civil Affairs office, I directly got into Hisui Chao's car. He was startled, and I looked at him and said, "I want to go back to the house we used to live in." "Aren't you going there too?" All the property was agreed to be mine, including that house. However, he had let Lu Man move in while I was away. Seeing my discovery, Hisui Chao quickly explained, Man had some conflicts with her roommates these past few days. Her family is out of town, and she, being young and without much money, couldn't afford a hotel. Since you weren't coming home for a while, I thought it'd be okay for her to stay there temporarily. I even reminded her to pack up her things and return to school today. He said this so naturally, not seeing anything wrong with the situation. If I would have been upset about this in the past, now, it was anger after disappointment, intense anger. I couldn't help but rub my eyes. Perhaps I was blind before, having fallen in love with someone I shouldn't have. Or maybe being reborn wasn't about fixing past regrets but to show me that my relationship with Hisui Chao was doomed to parting by death or separation, never to be fully realized, so I shouldn't force it. Thus, I didn't speak but followed him back to the house. I no longer wanted to call it a home. When I rang the doorbell, Lu Man came running barefoot to open the door, wearing my pajamas. She was even holding my favorite doll, appearing at the door with a playful expression. "Sui Chao, you're back." But before she could finish, she saw me standing behind him. She was startled and retorted, "What are you doing here?" According to the divorce agreement, He Sui Chao left with nothing. This house naturally belongs to me, so, she was intruding. Hearing this, Lu Manman's eyes teared up immediately. And she looked timidly at He Sui Chao, quickly starting to cry. "Sui Chao, I've talked to my roommates, they still don't want me back at school. I have nowhere else to go. If I can't stay here a bit longer, I'll really be left homeless." All of He Sui Chao's assets, including several properties we owned together, were now in my name. He had nothing, and had even rented a place with his salary paid in advance. But it surely wasn't as comfortable as this house. Lu Manman was trying to argue for her significance right in front of me, as if that would prove her importance. Just like now, He Sui Chao looked at her, his eyes wavering, but ultimately he couldn't help but say to me, Qian, "I've given you all the money and houses, but she has nowhere to go. Could you let her stay a few more days, just a few days?" Without a second thought, I immediately agreed. My straightforward response took He Sui and Lu Manman by surprise, but I didn't do anything else. I just went back to my bedroom, claiming I needed to take some important documents, and then left the room under their watchful eyes, calm and composed. After that, I went to Lu Manman's university. It was also my alma mater. Familiar with the place, I knew when the office was busiest and when classmates would likely appear. I brought with me the video I had obtained that day, and also, after returning to my room earlier, I had secretly installed a camera over the past hour. They had been coming in and out of the room, embracing and kissing. The evidence was overwhelming, yet I said nothing, just played the video on my phone on loop. Then I sat in a chair, crying silently. The office was bustling, and students frequently came to see the counselor or handle paperwork. At those moments, I would lift my phone higher to make sure everyone could see. Oh, and there was the ultrasound report and the proof of my miscarriage. I had clearly marked the dates. Every single piece of evidence was undeniable. When I got to the airport, He Sui called me. As soon as I answered, I heard his roaring voice. "Wen Qian, I never thought you could be such a venomous woman. You had promised me that as long as I agreed to leave everything behind, you wouldn't release that video. Yet, you went straight to Manman's school and ruined her reputation. You're a woman yourself. You know how important reputation is to a woman. Don't you think you're being too harsh? And to install cameras in the room, your actions constitute an invasion of privacy, a violation of mine and Manman's rights to our images. According to the law, I can sue you. And, Wen Qian, you've driven Manman to the brink of suicide by jumping into the river. Do you know that, if you have even a shred of decency left, go back to the school now and clarify things, claim it was all a misunderstanding, and help restore her reputation. Otherwise, I will call the police." I rubbed my ears. His yelling had been loud and painful. I told him, "You've already signed the divorce papers. According to the law, that house is mine, so what's wrong with installing surveillance in my own home?" You couldn't resist being affectionate in what used to be my bedroom. I happened to see it, and naturally, I had to seek an explanation from her school, didn't I? Also, I did promise you before, but I indeed changed my mind. What can you do about it? Call the police. Go ahead, He Sui. Don't tell me, with all your education, you can't see right from wrong. If you call the police, who do you think will end up embarrassed? I think you know that better. In this relationship, I am not at fault, and I bear no responsibility for it. But He Sui, you have completely shattered the love I once had for you in my heart, so I made that call. Hello, I need to send an express SF shipment, one that can arrive today. Regarding the items, I had divided them into two parts and had already placed them at the courier station. One part was sent to He Sui Chao, containing 2 documents, a medical record confirming a pregnancy and another documenting a miscarriage. I have clearly marked the dates on them, which I believe he remembers. The other part, which is more significant, contains a USB drive sent to He Sui Chao's rival at the same company. After that, I turned off my phone, packed my luggage, and went to another city. I thought about it for a long time. The bond with He Sui Chao deepened because of that flood. Similarly, in my previous life as a spirit, I stayed by He Sui Chao's side and remembered most of what happened in the following years. For instance, in 2 months, this city will experience heavy rainfall followed by a major flood, though not as severe as the one 5 years ago. Still, it will cause considerable damage, collapsing houses, and resulting in deaths. Knowing the time and place, I came here and wrote many anonymous letters, ensuring my own safety, and sent them to the local emergency management bureau. I researched extensively and wrote the letters formally, suggesting preemptive warnings and precautions, advising the evacuation of residents to minimize casualties. In short, I did my utmost to save those people, and I never left. During this time, Sui Chao called me many times, but I did not answer. I didn't read any of his messages either, after so many years together. Understanding each other's personalities well, the package I sent the day I left was enough to leave him with a lifetime of guilt. The child that was once eagerly anticipated, the day she was discovered, her father was with another woman, and the day she left, her father also abandoned her mother, taking another woman with him. So, guilt, a troubled conscience indeed. He called and repeatedly said sorry in his messages, ultimately to make himself feel better, and why should I give him that chance? I am somewhat spiteful, unable to learn forgiveness, only wishing that he is unhappy for the rest of his life, but I never expected that there would come a day when we would meet again. On the day of the flood outbreak, official evacuations had already been arranged, yet some people refused to leave, needing help. I used my memories from a past life to locate those who had been trapped for a long time. I went days and nights without sleep, just when I thought it was almost over. I realized the last person I saved was Sui Chao. He was clinging to a piece of driftwood, having swallowed several mouthfuls of water, continually calling for help. He was also holding a child, who wore a blue dress and clung tightly around his neck. Crying in fear, I am somewhat spiteful and wanted to ignore him, but I couldn't pretend not to see the child. Over these 5 years, I had learned to swim and picked up some life-saving skills these past few days, successfully rescuing them. The moment I was saved, Sui embraced me tightly. Qian, I remember everything now. Outside the hospital, Sui stood in front of me. He was still in his wet clothes, looking disheveled and miserable. Qian, when did you remember? I interrupted him before he could continue. Sui opened his mouth, then couldn't help but let out a bitter laugh. He said, I've been having dreams about it for a long time. Later, when I met Lu Man, I thought she was the girl in my dreams. Then, when we were about to divorce, I dreamt almost every night, but I couldn't make out the face in my dreams. After getting the divorce papers, Lu Man jumped into the river, and I jumped in after her. That night I got a high fever and was hospitalized. Then I saw the medical report you sent, and that night I dreamt a lot. I still couldn't see the face clearly, but I was sure the girl in my dreams wasn't Lu Man. Later, some memories slowly started to come back. This city was about to flood. I wasn't sure if it was real or just a dream, so I wanted to verify it, and indeed, I encountered the flood. When I was swept into the flood, I saw a little girl in a blue dress, much like the girl from my dreams. At that moment, I closed my eyes, and your image appeared in front of me. He paused, then suddenly laughed, as if mocking himself. Then, it was like a lifetime passed in my mind, and this lifetime, I begged for a long time, to finally achieve completeness, but in the end, I still lost it. By the end of his words, Sui was in tears, his eyes a mix of resentment and sorrow as he tried to reach out to touch me, but I avoided his touch. Sui, I also thought this lifetime was a chance given by fate for you, but I never imagined, maybe this is fate telling me that separation by death is our destined outcome. In death, we remain in each other's memories as the beautiful images we once were, but now that we are both alive, the sacred feelings we once held have been degraded by you. Sui, regret isn't enough to start over again. There's no future for us. When he claimed to be Lu Man's boyfriend when I was pregnant, yet he found excuses to be with Lu Man when I had a miscarriage, and he was still with Lu Man, and many other nights that I didn't know about. Those disgusting nights are absolutely intolerable. Listening to my words, tears slid down Sui's face as he shook his head incessantly. Qian, I just chose the wrong person, but from the beginning to the end, I loved you. So what? Should I just forgive your betrayal? But I couldn't do it. Couldn't be magnanimous and forgive him who once betrayed me, so I told him, because you betrayed me first, I want you to leave with nothing, and I even used your worst enemy to make you completely lose your job. All your efforts over the years are destroyed, and now you have nothing. This is your punishment, and all your current pain and regret. Every night for the rest of your life, you will remember them in your midnight dreams. Sui, I will not forgive you. And neither will the child who was supposed to come into this world and leave. From now on, you will live a life of pain and regret. I plan to continue pursuing my own dreams, traveling the world. I've seen it all. With a hefty balance in my bank account, I have enough to support my dreams without struggling in place. Occasionally, I receive news from old acquaintances. Sui Chao and Lu Man ultimately broke up. I caused a scene at her school. And given her already strained relationship with her roommate took advantage of the situation. The entire school ended up knowing about it, and it even became a hot topic in our city. The high level of discussion led to Lu Man being persuaded to leave the school and return to her hometown. The girl who once stayed up late night after night solving problems, striving to escape the mountains and change her fate, has returned to square one. As for He Sui Chao, he had already made many enemies in the business world. Now, someone has seized the initiative, crushing him completely without any chance of a comeback. It's safe to say his chances of rising again are gone. Later, I vaguely heard news about him. It was said that he was targeted for revenge, with many needles stabbed into him.